Lifestyle. They did a podcast together and they were so transparent. They talked about their journeys of being parents of children with disabilities, with autism specifically, and then just why they're on this journey, why was it them put on that journey specifically, and even just being women of color and being afraid to speak up. But during this podcast, it was their time to be able to speak up and share their story and share their journey, and know that as women or people of color that have children with disabilities, that you don't have to keep this hidden, your feelings, your child with a disability, what you're going through, your experiences, and that you should get out and talk to other people. And
Yep.
it's so important to have a community of people to support you along this journey, or to even just be able to talk to on this journey, that can understand what you are going through and kind of help you and guide you through this.
hmm It was a really good podcast. You sent it to me, and I listened to it, and I was just really like, wow, that is, awesome that they were just so transparent and they were able to discuss those things. And then it just made me realize, like, wow, I can relate to this. This was eye opening, because sometimes you're scared. I don't know if scared is the right word, but you don't want to, dwell on it, or you're just like, well, you should be grateful, you should be happy. And then sometimes, you hold in those true emotions that you
Mhm.
do have those moments where you're like, did I do something wrong?
Right.
Punishment. And when you talk like that, people will be like, your child's not a punishment, your child's a blessing. And I understand that, not saying my child's a punishment, but those are still natural thoughts that go through your mind. My biggest thing, is like, when am I going to be able to take my son to a water park? While it seems so little, or anything, just like, really, that's what you should just be happy he's here. And I am, but you still get in those moments where you want to experience what other families are able to experience. So thank you for sharing that. It was the podcast. It was very good to just be able
Yeah.
to listen to other women, especially black women, speak on those topics.
Yeah, and even, like you're saying, people are saying you should be grateful or they're a blessing, or even you have the people that are like, oh my gosh, God would not have put or given you this child if they didn't know that you couldn't handle it. And but we are human, like you said, and we have feelings, and it might look like it's easy, or it might look like, yes, God gave it to me because he felt like I could handle it, but there's days when I cannot handle it.
Mhm.
And I was given it and I learned how to fight and learn how to handle it,
Mhm.
because that's what I had to do, or that's what I chose to do. That's the path that I chose to go down. So it was not necessarily that, he gave me my child or put me in this situation because he felt like that's what I could handle. It was maybe a lesson to help me learn different things, but still, I learned how to handle it and I chose to handle it.
Right.
Um, so, those are things that we think about too. And then just even they were talking about lessons that we learn from having a child with a disability. And it, helps us learn more about ourselves. It brings out things that we didn't even know we were capable of doing, or maybe what our true path was, maybe even supposed to be,
Correct.
when we had our child, or children with a disability, because I know that she was saying it made her like a warrior
Mm-hmm.
having a child with a disability and going through all the things that she had to go through, fighting for her child's rights and the IEP and things like that. So I think I can attest and say that as a parent with a child with a disability, that it has definitely made a lot of us warriors and
Mm-hmm.
learn how to fight, learn how to stand up and use our voice. And, she also said too that it was like God was like, your child doesn't have a voice, they're nonverbal, but you have a voice and
Correct.
you can talk, you can speak up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is what you need to use your voice for. You need to be heard, you need to be seen, and you need to speak up for your child. And I really agreed with that. And I was like, oh my gosh. And, that's why we do this and have the podcast, because we are speaking up for
Mm-hmm.
parents and caregivers that have children with disabilities, because a lot of our children are nonverbal. And even if they are verbal, they may not be able to articulate what they are feeling or what, their thoughts are and things like that. So as their parent, it's then our responsibility to speak up for our child and pave the way for the next generation or what have you that is going to come after we're no longer here anymore or our children are older.
Correct. And another thing that really just made me be like, wow, is when she talked about she prayed for this baby, her child. And that is where I really like related to her, because when I found out I was pregnant with Lorenzo, I was like 33, 34, already had two traumatic losses. Deliveries and stuff, and I prayed, like I was like, God, I want to be a mom, like I want to be a mom. And so when all of that happened, I was like, okay, I'm a mom, but this is not how I pictured me being a mom. Missing out on the breastfeeding, missing out, like just different things, not holding Lorenzo until he was almost 2 months old. And then it was like maybe a 30-minute hold and putting him back in the incubator, all that kind of stuff, I didn't see. And I remember just sitting by his bedside while he was real little in the incubator, and I would just be reading the Bible, because I was just like, hey, okay, what is going on, this is what's about to happen. And I remember just the doctors having the reports of, oh, he's probably not going to make it past 8 months, oh, he's probably not going to make it past 2 years, we're going to go ahead and get hospice for you to talk to and everything like that. And I would just be like, all right, God, wait a minute now. Let me and you have a conversation, because this is not, I prayed. So I had to like question,
Mhm.
like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? And everyone in the hospital, the nurses and stuff who have their typical children at home, are saying, well, God wouldn't put on you more than you can handle. And I'm like, you don't even know me. How do you know what I can handle? Like, so I'm just like, at that point, I was kind of like negative. And then I had to embrace it and manage it and make it look fierce and fabulous, of course. But I just understood that this was my way of life. And it made me strong. It made me, well, stronger, I will say, made me very vocal. I've always been one not to really bite my tongue, but baby, I will go to bat for him. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to be his voice. And I kind of like, I had a voice, but certain things I would just let go. This I won't let go. That's my child. He can't tell me what's going on. So I'm his voice. I'm his eyes. I'm his advocate. And then it switched what industry I was in. I love marketing, communications, and stuff. And now I'm in the healthcare industry. I sat at his bedside for 11 months straight, going to therapies, a month after he's been home, 3 to 4 times. I was just in that world. And then when I did go back to work, he was born in 2017. I went back to work in 2019. I went straight into medical, and I'm still there to this day. I'm back in school to get more to have knowledge as well, so I can really have an understanding of what goes on in the healthcare system, to use my voice to help. I'm on the adult side, so to help special need when they get to adults and stuff. But yeah, that it made me question, like, but I didn't I prayed to make a change in the world, and to be able to do that through my son is, it's a blessing. But yeah, sometimes, ooh, I be like, God, what was you thinking?
Mhm.
What's going on? And I had to sit down and just be like, this is what he wanted me to do. Why not me? Have that faith. She spoke about that, seed, mustard seed faith, just really believing that everything, okay, I got this. I got this. At times it feels like, whew, it
Yeah.
is getting, tough. And I think that's why it's important to have a community, a safe place to find resources, connect with other moms and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, sometimes the lessons that we learn, good or bad, we're, most of the time able to get up from that and be able to make even greater progress than where we were before,
Mhm.
and just become a better version of ourselves because of those lessons that we are being put through, by God. And I know sometimes also too, I get so caught up in just taking care of, Ayana, and by the time I start taking care of my typical children, sometimes I feel like I'm like, did I neglect them? Like, am I missing something? Like, what am I putting too much responsibility on my typical child? And, does it seem like I'm spending more time with my child with a disability and learning how to balance the two?
Right.
It can be hard sometimes. And I know I'm like, by the time I get to dealing with something with my typical child, I think I'm like, my feet are just going, and I don't know how to just put a stop
Mhm.
to what I'm
Right.
doing. I'm so used to like speaking up, advocating, and expressing my needs and wants for my child with a disability. So when it comes to my child that's typical and he might have things going on in school or whatever, I'm like, did I do too much? Did I come off am I coming off the wrong way? Am I fully
Oh,
understanding this because I'm
okay.
just I'm just going head first because
Okay.
I feel like that's what I'm used to doing, and sometimes it's hard to like just take off those blinders and sit back and look at the situation and realize what's going on. What is the root cause, and am I really doing my part because I've been focusing so much on caring for my child with a disability and standing up for my child with a disability. So, sometimes it's just hard to differentiate the two and separate them
That's
and know.
that. I never thought about it that way, but yeah, that's a good point. I never thought like that, but that's
Yeah.
true, because you're used to advocating for Ayana, that your
Uh,
other kids, you're just like, let's go. And yeah, wow, I never thought about that. But I
yeah.
do want to say, I remember one time you took your son for pizza. And I remember I thought it was so cute. I think I saw it on social media. And I think it was like during his spring break and stuff. And you like took that time to just have that one-on-one with him and make sure he knew. And I think that right there speaks volumes, because it's like, you're realizing it, what you're juggling and stuff, and to actually, because some people would just be like, well, you have your sister, she needs this, she needs this, but
Mhm.
you actually acknowledge and like respect, his feelings and emotions. I think that is awesome.
Yeah, and while we're also learning these lessons, our children are learning
Hmm.
lessons also, and so taking the time to sit down and talk with them about what is it that they have learned or they feel like they're learning or have experienced because they have a sibling with a disability, like trying to figure out what have been the pros and cons to having a sibling with a disability, because they have feelings too. And just because we as their parent have learned to you know be on this path and fight and do whatever we need to do to help our child with a disability, that doesn't mean that that child, they're not ready for all of that and everything that comes with it, and that's not their responsibility either. And
Right.
so they still want to be a child
Right.
and enjoy their childhood. And so learning again to separate the two and making sure that what your child is going through, and also getting them to interact with you more and engage with you more in conversation about what they feel like they have learned or what they could learn, because I also too want to be able to raise a child that is able to be empathy, have empathy, and
Mhm.
care and concern for other people with disabilities when they are out on their own, or when
Right.
they're out with their friends or peers, and learn how to talk to them, learn how to handle situations, when there's people that are not like them and they're alone by themselves dealing with different situations. So understanding where they are coming from and what they have learned and what they might need help with is also important too, because now that we have a family, and there's just more than Ayana, the kids are going to be learning things too, and it affects everybody in the household and not just me as an individual. So
Yeah.
taking in everybody's opinions and thoughts and feelings is so important along these lessons that are being taught, or the journey that that we've been put down because we have a child or a sibling with a disability. Is very important to include everybody in the household and their feelings.
Right, right. And I think it's just important to, have those moments but not sit in them.
Yeah.
Because we're human, and, we're going to, question different things, and sometimes it's hard to move forward when you sit in that moment for too long. Um,
Mhm.
I always say this is not for the weak. It is definitely an up and down roller coaster. Because I mean, at the moment you feel like, oh, we got it together, boom, something else happens, and it's not even like when life things happen. I feel, and I'm sure typical parents, not taking anything away, when you guys, life happens to adults all the time. But when I feel like sometimes when it's like life happens, when you are a parent of a child with a disability, it hits you hard because you can't just get up and say, okay, I'm going to go do this, do this, do that. I'm going to leave, my child with, hey, can you watch him for a minute? Or everything is kind of planned. Do they know how to, with my
Mhm.
situation, do they know how to change a trait? If the G tube, feeding, different things like that. Watching him to make sure he's not getting into things. Is your house safe for me to leave him? So those are all the things, and that's when I'm like, okay, God, like, can I have a minute of normalcy? Like, can we just be smooth sailing for a little bit? Um, so sometimes even like, I said I prayed for this. I prayed to be a mom. Um, this is not, I have all my friends from high school. I didn't have the maternity shoot because I didn't make it pregnant that long. I didn't even have a baby bump. So all the different things I see people are able to experience, I would question and be like, all right, God, what's going on? And I'm sure sometimes, because they were even starting a support group for grandparents. Because I'm sure sometimes my mom is like, hey, what, like, what is going, why, why my child and stuff like that. But I have learned, 7 years in now, you're in a lot longer than me. um to embrace it and make the best. And I just really think it's just been, my relationship with God has really gotten closer. And then also changing my circle of friends, being okay with meeting people, because I was the time I had Lorenzo, I was 33, no new friends, bestie, that's what it was going to be. But then I had to get people that
Mhm.
understand where I'm at, what I'm dealing with. Just last night we're in the parking lot of Wolfson's, exchanging supplies and getting formula, giving some, just different
Yeah.
things. I can't do that with so I had to step out of my comfort zone. I had to step out of, my circle. That's my safety net. They know me. I don't, they understand me. But once I had Lorenzo and really start stepping into the whole special needs world, I changed too. There's different things. I can't just pick up and go out to eat or go to, because I was scared of germs and the looks and just, everything. So it'd be like, all right, but now I can, talk to other moms with special needs and they're like, girl, we're not going either. We're at the house, so I don't feel
Uh-huh.
as like the what is it the miss out on stuff and everything. So that was important. But I've come. I feel like I've come a long way too. My temper is not as bad. I'm patient. I don't, what they say, pop off as easy now. I approach things a lot differently because you can't pop off at the doctor. You're gonna have to see in 2 weeks. So I conduct myself very different. I think being a special needs parent has made me grow into a better woman, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And, just also seeing that social media is so big and everything right now, sometimes it can be hard to grow into that person or you get comfortable in the skin that you are, in or placed in because of things that we see on social media every day. And how can you not still continue to question, like, why do I have to be in this situation? Why can't, like, seeing all of that on social media, it still can make people uncomfortable or have you questioning things. But I mean, we're human, and I feel like we're going to always still question why we were put in this situation or given certain circumstances. But it's the not necessarily the effort, but like, what can you take from that that is going to help you build from where you are in your situation rather than what being concerned with what other people are doing with their situations,
Mhm.
I think is the most important thing to take from that. And, even then, maybe sometimes you need to take a break because being on social media can make you very, very vulnerable because of the things that you are seeing and knowing that you aren't able to do a lot of the things that you may see on social media. But maybe even start looking for some social media people that are showing things that you can do,
Mhm.
for yourself, for your family, with your kids that do have a disability, because there's just so much more content out there too now. So, like, you had to change your circle of friends, change what you're looking at on social media,
Mhm.
and see, how it can help you develop and grow as an individual and help your family.
That's what I definitely had to do. I take breaks from social media. I ghost, and I used to be, because marketing on social media constantly, and I had to realize, what it was taking from me and my son.
Mhm.
So I'll get off social media for a good 6 to 8 weeks and really focus on life itself. Like, what do they say? Smell the roses.
Yeah.
Focus on what's in front of me. Because too, as a special needs parent, you're planning but scared to plan. So seeing people, plan this and do this and do that, you're like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make it. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do that. So, and then you'll see the pictures and you're like, dang, we could have went. You're healthy. We're not in the hospital. I should have took that chance. So it's a lot of that. So it was funny because I was watching a sermon the other day, and it basically said, change your algorithm, change what you see. You can control what you see. So I definitely, start following more parents. And what I love seeing, TikTok is my go-to. Sometimes I do like recipes or fashion, but I follow more parents with special needs children. I get
Mm-hmm.
ideas of arts and crafts we can do at the house that are easy, simple, mostly me doing it, but things that we can enjoy, and then suggestions on going different places, how you can go, or different locations and stuff like that, and traveling. So that does help. But I did have to, like, I think since I've had a couple of breaks from social media due to not letting it over consume me. When I see like the boy moms doing this and doing that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna be doing that. So, it's just I've learned. Like I said, I'm still human. I still have my questions. I still, I try to be as positive. I say my affirmations. I am very thankful. I don't want that to get twisted. Thankful, grateful, but yeah, sometimes I'll be like, well, just that. And she talked about that in the podcast, something you prayed for and it come, but they say
Yeah.
when you pray, you never know how it's going to be delivered. So this is, this is my prayer. And when people say, oh, well, you were meant for this, because I am like a type A personality, very, you know, anal. I got 3 notebooks, list, calendar. So I was like, well, maybe I was built for this. Maybe God knew, like, hey, you're
Uh-huh.
gonna get him to his therapies, you're gonna make sure he's at his appointments, and I'm not selfish. I mean, I'll go without to make sure my son has. So, some weeks I only work 20 hours a week to make sure he's where he needs to be at whatever therapy, even though they might say, oh, he doesn't need therapy. No, we're gonna keep going. I'm fine. You
Yeah.
know, I have the strength. I can pull it, because I have doctors say, oh, well, maybe, no. I'm gonna keep going. And I just look at it like, if he was involved in extracurricular activities, I'd be running myself racket anyway. So I try
Yeah.
to kind of play with it that way.
And even too, like Sarah Lovestyle was saying too, we're not in control. Like we might think we were in control even when we're praying for this child, and we might think we're in control of knowing what we're going to get and what we're going to do when we have the child and plan all these things. But no, we're not in control. We are not in control.
And
And
her pregnancy was horrible. Like, she thought the baby had Down syndrome. And
yeah,
then
I thought it was a
when,
girl and it ended
yeah,
up being a boy.
ooh,
So
yeah,
it was just all crazy. But
uh,
yeah, like she was saying, we're not in control. So things that we, wish for or aspire to do or think are going to happen, or just like you were saying, you wanted to go to an event, but you weren't sure if Lorenzo was going to be well or not. Like we're not in control of that situation. We didn't go at that time because you didn't know what
mhm,
his health was going to be like, and we're not in control. But you found a way to kind of try to control the situation by just not going or planning to go to it because you were thinking about his health. But still at the end of the day, whether you missed it or not, you were in control of what his health was exactly or specifically going to be at that time when the event was going to happen. So, just always knowing we're not in control. There's a plan. It's okay if you're not in control. That doesn't mean that, things are not going to work in your favor because you aren't in control. Maybe God is trying to tell you something different. That's why he hasn't put you in control
Mm.
of your ship, because he has something else planned for you.
And I have learned to just let go with the flow. When I say certain things, I be like, oh, I mean, I used to be so anal. I wouldn't write in my calendar before Lorenzo with a pen. I would only do a pencil because I was like, if I have to erase it, I still want it to look neat. Don't want it to. Now I'm like, pen. Oh, we're not going. Cross it out. It is what it is. Oh well, like so. I think God, kind of. Yes, I'm good because I'm organized and he's gonna be at his appointments and all this stuff. But also, I'm like, oh, if we're not able to make it, it is what it is. Like I'm not
Right.
as oh my God, I got to be here. I got to do this. I got to do that. So I think he kind of, calmed that down. And then I also think so when I was little, I was like into politics. And I used to always say, I'm going to change the world. I love women's rights, empowering women and stuff like that. But I too think sometimes where God placed this me in this little area, um, I think it's just to really just go ahead and make a difference. I see so many things that I want to change for special needs families. Um, transportation, getting back and forth to appointments as adults, just different things that I see. And I just know that my son is going to continue to bring greatness out of me and give me
Yeah.
that drive. Um, when I got my job where I'm at now, I didn't realize I was going to be working with not a lot, but I do work with a special needs population because I do interventional radiology. So hearing the stories, talking to the parents, having that extra patience on the phone, having that understanding where they have to call transportation and get a wheelchair van to get, having that empathy and understanding. I think, God placed me there. But when I applied for this, I didn't know that's what I was going to be doing. And it then
Mhm.
just even opened my eyes up more to, okay, we deal with things in peds, but the adults, okay, this might be my little, niche or whatever
Yeah.
to really make a difference. And I think that is I'm just learning more and more about the adult world, and I'm enjoying it. And I don't know, sometimes I just be like, all right, God, I don't know what you have planned,
Yeah.
but okay, we're just gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it, and to know that my son is healthy, clean, has a place to, just all those
Yeah.
things. I'm just like, I'm grateful. I am.
But even besides that, with you saying when you applied for the job or got the job, you didn't know that was what you were going to be doing or ending up doing. I
Mhm.
always say I feel like when I talk to people and they ask me what I do or what I like to do, and I'm like, you know what? I just feel like every time I try to run away from doing stuff with special needs,
Yep.
it's like I just get pulled right back
Mhm.
into the same place of doing something that pertains to
Yep.
dealing with children with special needs, with a
Mhm.
disability or what have you. I'm like, I have tried to run away from it several times and I just keep getting pulled back in. So,
I
you know,
And that's how I feel, because I was like, when I was like, wow, I got the first job in the medical field. I was like, okay, this is fine. But I was like, okay, I don't want to do this. And then it just kept every job after that, because the first 3 years of working was kind of like, oh, crazy, because we were in and out the hospital and all this stuff. Um, but I just continue to, and I love where I'm at now. And I love what I do. I love our patients. And then I just know too, like the friends I'm making from Lorenzo's world, their parents and stuff,
Yeah.
eventually their kids are going to be adults and be where, coming through our doors as well. So it's like I want to make sure everything is good for when they get here. And I don't know, it's amazing. It is. And when I see like all the strength people have, like just last, I think it was last Wednesday, we were at the hospital, we were going to stay overnight, we were supposed to get the trach out, all this was supposed to go on,
Mhm.
and we didn't get it out, and we
Oh,
found out we're going to need surgery. So of course, it's like, God, really? I thought we were done with the trach.
right,
I thought we were
right.
getting it out. But I just had to remember, Lorenzo was happy the whole time. He, didn't realize what was going on. He was just like, I want to see the doctor. They make him laugh and do all the stuff. So he didn't understand it. That's, we as adults were more excited. And I asked God, like, what is like, we had a trach for 6 years now. I could have sworn, and I had to remember, like, when Lorenzo was small, little in the hospital, another prayer. I said, God, just show me kind of like what's going to go on. Put people in our pathway that's going to be able to tell me. And the first time I sat down with his ENT doctor, who is still his ENT doctor to this day, she said, kiddos like Lorenzo, they usually don't get their trachs out till about 7 or 8. And I looked at her and I was like, child, boo, whatever. So when we had this conversation last Wednesday, I just looked at her and I said, you know what? You told me this already. So even though I had my moment of questioning, like, what's going on, I just looked at her and said, so we don't have to stay tonight, right? Like, we're going home. He went back, he went to school the next day. We hung out with my mom, and of course I went off my diet and had me a nice Pizza Hut, but just to soak in my moments right there. But
Okay.
I just had to remember, like, I had my question and like, God, what are we doing, and then she came in and we had that talk, like, hey, remember we talked about this. I was like, you know what, you're right, you did tell me that. So I don't know now, I don't know, like, I'll question, why didn't we get it taken out? And then I'm just more like, why are we keeping it in? What more do you want us to get out of him having the trach? Is it understanding what's going on with the trach supplies and being that voice for other parents? Like, I just don't know. But I start
Yeah.
kind of looking at things like that as well. Like, okay, so what are we doing with this? Because I know he's just not having the trach for just to have it. I mean, for health reasons, of course. But when we're
Mhm.
talking about on the spiritual side, like,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
Yeah. And, you know, overall, think after listening to the podcast and listening to their testimonies, their stories, and reflecting on my journey, our my story, and just us in general as parents of children with disabilities. um you know we are we're not in control. we
Mhm.
were we were placed or given this situation for a reason, and to learn lessons and to develop and grow. And I don't think that I would be here trying to help other parents, standing up for families, standing up for my own child, learning more about the world of disabilities, um, trying to start a nonprofit for families with disabilities, trying to do community outreach if I was not placed on this path. I
Right.
am such a introvert, so me even speaking and talking to other people or talking on this platform is not something I would typically or normally do because it's out of my comfort zone. But like Sarah was saying, my child is nonverbal. I'm not nonverbal. This is my time. This is when I'm supposed to use my voice to speak up and say what needs to be heard and do what needs to be done.
Right.
And so, I'm thankful for the path that I am being placed on because it has helped build me and grow me into a stronger person. And I have been able to build more relationships and meet new people and do things that I would have never normally done because it would have been out of my comfort zone.
Correct.
And there has just been so much more positive
Mm-hmm.
that has, came out of this, circumstance or situation that I have been placed in. And I'm thankful for that because again, I mean, I feel like I've become a better person and a stronger person.
And I wrote it down. She said it was like at the beginning of the podcast talking about like what was her favorite quote, I believe. And
Hmm.
she said, the areas you stress in the most is the areas you least trust God in. And that really stuck with me today. Like, I was like, wow. Like I said, I wrote it down because I really just, even applying it to like Lorenzo's health and stuff, but just applying it to life in general.
Hmm.
You know, they're like you said, we're not in control. Like, you have to have, she was saying, that faith of a mustard seed. You don't even have that. What are you doing? And in this, whatever your beliefs are and stuff like that, that's up to you and stuff. But it was just really eye opening to hear that, and it stuck with me because that's so true. Like, we'll sit there and, like you said, we're not in control. We're just worrying, worrying, worrying.
Uh,
And we've made it this far, and I don't know about you, but there's sometimes when, like, well, no, you did say that you thought, you couldn't make it and you learned how to manage through it and stuff like that. And it's just really having that faith and trust in him in those
yeah.
areas. And when she said that, I was like, wow, that is so true. Like, yeah, like I should be trusting you, Um, and does it get hard? I mean, that's life in
Yeah.
itself. We're all going to have challenges, but that makes our testimonies even better.
Yep. And that's where we have to give it to God and let Him do the work
Yeah.
because that is what He is here for.
Hmm.
And you know, that's all that we can do at a certain point, with things that we may be struggling with or going through. So if you guys have the chance to go on YouTube and listen to Megan Ashley's podcast with Ashley Love Style, I mean, I think that it was just a very touching, transparent, informational, just everything. If you go and have the chance to listen to that, then you should, especially if you are a parent of a child with a disability. I think it will give you a little insight on what you may be dealing with or are unsure of what you are exactly dealing with and how you can go about trying to learn how to handle what you're dealing with at this time. Um,
Yeah.
so if you have the chance, go on there and listen
That,
to that podcast. And did you have anything else?
no, I think that was
Yeah.
great. You know, comment, let us know when, you were questioning yourself, share those moments. We're here for you guys.
Yeah. And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to another episode of Two Moms and Some Labels. Until next time, we will see you guys. Bye.